Oh yeah, it still gives me chills. It was just amazing. That was a recent episode of the Music Now Showcase here on iCRV Radio, which is Tuesdays, 3:00 live. Dan Stevens brings in artists that we need to be aware of, and boy, Christine Salazar, how impressive is she? So that was a little Christine and. Backup on the violin with Caitlin Olive. Fantastic. And you're in for a treat later today as Ramblin' Dan going to be in the house. He's bringing in Anna Thompson and Joe Holt. And Joe Holt, I believe, is performing at the Nightingale's Acoustic Cafe sometime soon and in the coming couple of weeks.
That is right. He's playing on Saturday, November the 14th.
Yeah. So really looking forward to having a little sneak preview today. Hey, talking about sneak previews, last week we had a great little visit. It was totally unexpected as we didn't know what we were in for. But Gay Sherman Wentz came in to teach us a little bit about vintage jewelry, a little bit about her eclectic tastes, as it were, but her passion and expertise in an area that really is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I think it covers vintage would be anything that's between an antique distinction, which is 100 years, and anything that's a little more contemporary, which is probably 20 years.
Yeah, vintage is considered to be between 20 and 25 years old. It depends upon the venue sometimes and what the time frame. Like with vintage cars, for example, might be different from other venues, but generally it's between 20 and 25 years old is vintage, and then for antique it has to be at least 100.
100, yeah. So Gay Sherman Wentz came in and gave us a little tease of an event that we found fascinating. It's a bit of a twist on Antiques Roadshow. It was done by the Chester Historical Society this past weekend, and certainly Skip Hubbard joins us. He's the president of the Chester Historical Society. Do I have the title right? I don't want to mess up.
I am the current president.
Current president. There we go.
And you have a great voice for radio.
Yeah. Skip and Gay, welcome back to iCRV Radio.
Thank you.
Good to have you guys here.
Great to be here.
So Skip, it was a cool event, huh?
We had fun, and that's kind of the foundation of a lot of things we do, marrying history with a little fun, little education along the way, and this is certainly indicative of it. This is about I think it's the 12th time we've held such an event, and it's grown over the years. It hasn't been every consecutive year, but it certainly has for the past 5 or 6, and we kind of outgrew. We staged it 5 or 6 years ago out at Chester Village West just to get it restarted again, the event, and quickly outgrew that. And so for the last 4 years or so, we've been holding the St. Joseph Parish Center up here in Chester, and nice parking and plenty of space for the appraisers and all. And
so you had a boatload of appraisers covering various verticals of specialty.
Yes, we did. Had 11 or 12 appraisers, which is typical, and running all the way from. We have 3 generalists usually that cover the lot. So to speak. Jeff Cooley joined us this year from Cooley Gallery in Old Lyme to help out with some art, and we had watches and clocks, books, jewelry, gems, as you mentioned, the vintage jewelry with Gay, glass, currency. So it pretty much covers everything, and it's amazing to see the variety of stuff that people bring in. Certainly,
something for everyone.
And people can come in and get an appraisal. I believe it's like was it $10 for your first one, and 20 for 2, and 25 for 3, something like that.
You got it exactly.
Yeah. And so that makes that third one a no-brainer, man. Why not bring in the third?
Well,
it could be the one that's the lucky one.
Most people do bring in 3.
Yeah. And was there a more popular category, or did you kind of cover all the verticals?
There was a lot of paintings this year, it seemed, and I think Gay was busy a bit.
Yeah, we were busy over in the jewelry section.
Yeah, and our generalists, because of the nature of covering a wider field, are usually quite busy, and that's why we have 3 of them dedicated to that task.
I love it. I mean, it's an Antiques Roadshow kind of inspired event, but I love the local flavor and the fact that, as we mentioned before, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, but it's a kind of a one way of discerning trash from treasure, right?
Exactly.
And were you the captain of it? Were you directing people on who to go to for the appraisal?
No. We have a team of people that have done that over the years.
It wants to put you on air. That's why she's asking. it.
And Carrie Hull oversees the event, and I think you've talked to her, Carrie, before.
Sure, yeah.
And she's done it for a number of years. She's the head of our development area. So she kind of oversees it, and we have a team that's pretty regular year to year. I'm sure Gay has gotten to know a few of our regulars.
Yeah, Carrie actually does a fabulous job, and her whole team of volunteers, they really do know what they're doing, and they just usher everybody to the various venues, whether it be glass or art or watches, jewelry, so on. And it's nice because they're really trafficking everybody, so all the appraisers can focus on each person that comes to them and, be able to take time with them.
And so, Skip, this is your big fundraiser?
No, not at all. Actually, it's a more of a minor one.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it's we had an all-time high last year, I believe, in the number of people and items coming in. This year it was down a little from that, but that's not a worry, and we'll keep doing it as long as the appraisers like it, and from all we hear, they love it.
Yeah, great.
No, we have a major fundraiser. Our more major one is usually in April area, and there we could call it a creative art challenge, where we're taking a Chester artifact of some sort. It could be from something made by a factory long ago, and a little piece or a component of something, and then artists take these components, be they a half dozen number or whatever, put them together in some sort of artistic form, and then we auction them off at the meeting house in April usually.
Okay.
That's more of the major fundraiser.
Got it. Okay. So let's get into the details. How busy was it? I mean, was there more trash than treasures?
Yeah, there were some, all the appraisers, we were talking to Carrie, who coordinated the event, and one of the things that a lot of the appraisers said, that they were actually pleased this time to be able to take more time with people that came. And sometimes it's not quantity, it's quality. And some of the quality pieces that came in, the very unique and rare pieces that came in, I know a number of the appraisers, if you get, one really cool piece, it just makes their day. It makes it worth the time. And, sometimes for those sorts of things, we wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. So did you have one of those pieces?
I actually had several, and one wasn't even in my category.
So what happened?
Well, for the jewelry part, I'll start with that. I had a couple from Centerbrook, actually. They live, oddly enough, just really down the road from where I live. So, that's sometimes the cool thing is, this was in somebody's house that's just down the street from me, hiding in a box somewhere. But they had two items that were of very high interest, and I believe both things to be very rare. And not just myself, but Paul Indorf, the gemologist, he started with those pieces because they were both made out of solid gold, and he's the fine jewelry guy. So he was testing them to see what the gold content was or whether it was solid gold. I know both pieces were at least 14 karat gold, might have been 18 karat. I didn't get that particular detail. But one of the items was a boxing medal, which isn't something you see that often. It actually dated to, I believe it was 1885. Yeah, that's correct. It dated to 1885. It had it looked like a little shield, and it had a picture of a boxer on the front. And I believe Ibby put that on your website.
Yep, there is a picture of it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, so if you're listening and want to see a picture of what I'm talking about, it's on the iCVR Radio Facebook page.
iCRV, as in Connecticut River Valley.
That's right. And anyway, so you can be taking a look at that piece as I talk about it. But the interesting thing, well, there are a number of interesting things about it. It was from 1885, so that makes it an antique. Solid gold, which is always pretty exciting from way back when. And It was from the amateur. It was a medal for the amateur heavyweight boxing match for New England.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other cool thing on the back, and this piece is all just, beautifully engraved. That spidery Victorian type of engraving that you just don't see anymore. Engravers can't do that kind of work anymore. At least I haven't seen it myself. Or it's very rare to find somebody who can engrave that way anymore. But the two fighters were two guys from Boston who duked it out. A couple of Irish boys. Surprise, surprise. By the names of, I think it was John Ryan and what was the other guy's name? Cunningham was the last name of the other guy. Anyway, these two Irish guys from Boston duked it out. It was a 6-round contest, and John Ryan won in 3 rounds. So I'm guessing that Cunningham got knocked out in the 3rd round. The other interesting thing about it, which makes it rare, is that back then, when they had these boxing matches, particularly amateur ones, they weren't allowed to pay the boxers for these contests. Either it just, wasn't done ethically or legally. I'm not sure on the detail on that one, but these medals basically were made of gold as a form of inadvertent payment to the boxers. So the boxer who won the match got this medal and typically would take it to get melted down and get the money for the gold. And there you go. There's your payday.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what would the value of
That's
something,
pretty cool.
a medal of this type be?
Well, of course, the value of gold varies greatly, but the value of gold, over the past year, it had been up for a while, a couple of years ago, and it's still, at a good height, but it goes up when the economy goes down, and it goes down when the economy goes up, as many of us know. But at that time in 1885, I'm not sure what they were getting for gold as far as cash, but I'm sure it was pretty decent, and that's why they gave them gold medals as a sort of circuitous form of payment, but they did, typically melt it down, get the money for the gold. It would have been a decent payday for the boxer who won the match. So the point is, most of these medals were melted down.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that this one still exists,
right,
is very rare.
Oh, that's very cool. How much of that background or story did the person who owned the piece have?
They didn't have much background at all.
That is the beauty, Skip, of these events, isn't it?
Indeed. Now, I was going to ask Gay, I didn't ask her at the event, that, people come to them for the expert appraisal, but I'm betting that they learn as much at times from the people and looking up an item as it's definitely an exchange. A lot of times they bring something to the table. I might learn something from somebody because they have a piece that I've maybe seen before or that I haven't seen before, and they can give me information that I didn't know, and vice versa. They may know a little bit about the piece. I do some research, and I'm able to give them much more information about something they didn't know about. So it goes both ways, most definitely.
It's kind of interesting because we learn a lot as one of the things that we try to focus on, and is a kind of platform point for us is preserving the art form of storytelling. And we learn from experts in the story space that it's not just about the story, but it's the purpose of the story. And here's a situation where it's not just about the artifact, but the purpose of the artifact. And the purpose of the artifact, yes, was to reward the winner, but as you duly noted, it's a roundabout way of it's cutting the corners. It's a way of paying the winner.
Exactly.
Was the actual purpose, and the fact that it actually still exists because in order to get paid, you sold it off and it got melted down. So the fact that it still exists, that's a really interesting kind of configuration of events.
Right. And, one of the things I did when I got home also was to try to find the names of these fighters, because if they happen to be, well-known boxers from the late 1800s, then, this item would be worth that much more. There was in doing my boxing research, it was very interesting. There was one boxer in particular that was referred to as Strong Boy of Boston back in the late 1800s. So if that medal had been, engraved for Strong Boy winning a match,
imagine,
that would have been, just the item itself, because it was for him. That would have been huge.
So roughly this item that somebody's just had no idea whether it was worth anything, but all of a sudden it's worth significant amount of money. I mean, roughly.
Well, the weight of the gold, probably is worth a few $100s if you were to melt it down today.
Right.
But given the rarity of the item, the fact that most of these things were melted down and now exist, the value of it probably be, it would be more attractive to somebody who is a collector of boxing memorabilia, for example, Boston memorabilia, perhaps, because you have two Irish guys from Boston duking it out, which is kind of cool. The history of Boston itself. But I actually did contact the Amateur New England Boxing Association. They are still around. And in fact, on their website, it mentioned, they had been around for, more than 120 years. And so I emailed them and I said, hey, I have a picture of this medal, going way back when in your association, just because I thought they might want. I don't even know if they've ever seen one. Huh. So I'm kind of waiting to hear back from them to find out if they even have any, the association even has any.
Super sleuth. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool. But I'm guessing, I didn't find any on the internet anywhere. I went through archives. I went through, past auctions, every place that I could scourge the internet. I did not find any. Okay. Which leads me to believe it's pretty rare.
It'd be interesting to see if John Ryan came from a more affluent background and had no need to melt it down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
be interesting.
Yeah, that's the other question. Yeah, why didn't this particular one get melted down?
So, give us the big winner of the event. Which was the aha moment for those people? What happened?
I would have to say the big winner wasn't necessarily financial. Okay. It wasn't like a win the lottery kind of moment, other than maybe Peggy, who is one of our generalists. She had somebody come in with a silver piece that just the meltdown value was $6,000.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
And I guess it was I didn't get to see it myself, but she told us about it after the fact, that this particular item made her day, that it was a really cool piece. And again, the meltdown value alone was $6,000. So the actual, value of the item probably was closer to $10,000.
Oh, okay.
My goodness.
So financially, I think that was one of the big ones.
A woman, I can't recall the specifics right now, but a number of years ago, she'd bought a box of assorted things at some tag sale for $2, $5, whatever. And it was something that had to do with rhinoceros horn. Do you remember that one at all?
No, I haven't heard about that one. I want to hear about it now.
It was something that was made from that, and it was Asian, and it was valued at like $35,000 or $40,000 at the time, and she was stunned, and we had to almost hold her up as she walked out of the room with this box of stuff, which included
defibrillator time.
Yeah, I know. It's like bringing the paramedics. But so those two stand out. But
you had some rings and some earrings.
Yeah. One of the big winners of the day was an emotional one, I would have to say. I mean, the pieces, has a good value to it. But I had one woman come in. She had a whole box of rings and other things. And when I was looking at this one particular ring, I'm looking for the hallmark, inspecting it, and I start reading out what's inscribed inside, and I start reading their initials. And I read the first set of initials, and she's like, "That's my father." And then I read the second set of initials, and she's like, "Those are my mother's initials." And she was completely stunned. And then I read the date, which was a date in December of 1952, and she's like, she kind of gasped, and her eyes started to tear up. She got all misty on me. Oh. And it turns out that this ring was her mother's wedding band, and she didn't know it.
Wow.
And the reason for that is she had always seen her mother wearing her engagement ring with a diamond with a band that was an eternity ring that her dad had given her mom for their 25th anniversary. She didn't realize that was an anniversary eternity band. She thought that was her mother's wedding band.
Oh.
So this beautiful white gold band that was very intricately engraved with this gorgeous design, floral and scroll design, was made in England. It had English hallmarks. It was 18 karat white gold. I saw the CG&S hallmark on it, so I figured out for her that it was made by Charles Green and Sons. Paul Indorf came over, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "those guys are like tops, and they're still in business today. Nobody does high quality engraving and designs like these guys do anymore." And so, it just kept building and building. But the emotional component, the fact that she realized that this ring, this little gold band that she had thrown in a box was actually her mother's wedding band.
Oh. And you had some earrings you mentioned earlier, too, that were Twiggy inspired?
Oh, that's actually, that's one of my own personal stories. Didn't have to do with the appraisal event, but we can talk about that at some point if we do the whole, if this brooch could talk.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you, Skip, it's pretty cool that there's no shortage of expert appraisers in our area. It's kind of neat to have all of these resources available to you as you put together an event such as this.
Yes, and they do it, I'd like to point out, free of charge. Which makes it great because it enables us with any of the income from the event to almost every dollar goes to the bottom line and comes back and is used for programs and events of the historical societies, which we offer free to the public. So it's a great plus, and there is no absence of it. I mean, you can drive through these various towns, and there's antique dealers and people, tucked away in a lot of places. And a lot of people come to this area just for that purpose, just to cruise the streets and talk to antique dealers and et cetera.
And we know that there are people, we know people, Lamont, that come in from Detroit to check out for records.
Right. Go record hunting here and find treasures.
Yeah. So it comes in all different verticals and shapes and sizes, and there's something I didn't even know until we talked last week about how Providence was the
costume jewelry capital of the world.
Yeah. I never knew that. It's fascinating. So before we change topics here, Skip, any big events coming up as you prepare for the holidays? Anything to promote for the Chester Historical Society?
Certainly. We always have something out front. Our normal museum season closed the last day of October. We're open weekends normally throughout the season. However, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've opened the doors the 2 days after Thanksgiving, Friday and Saturday. And this has proven to be a very popular time for families that are back in the area, et cetera, to stop by, learn a little about their hometown. With free admission, you can pop in as little or as long as you want. And typically we get 50 to 60 people coming on those 2 days, which is a very nice attendance. In fact, when mentioning it to the Deep River and Essex Historical Societies, they picked up and opened their doors last Thanksgiving, and it was successful. And they're doing it again this year. So the 3 towns are cooperating and opening their doors for people to do something other than Black Friday shopping.
I like that. That's a great idea. Speaking of the Tri-Town area, I got to ask, who won the throwback baseball game?
There was 3 close games, all decided by 1 run.
You're dodging the question. That doesn't bode well for Team Chester.
Chester lost, I think, 4-3 to Deep River in the third game of the round robin. So Deep River won 2 one-run games, and Chester was 1-1. And I think Essex was 0-2. But every game was 1 run.
All right, Lamont, you ready to saddle up for next year, man?
Did we come up with a name for me yet?
No, but
the name is really important.
Oh yeah,
the name is vital.
Yeah.
All right,
it's vital. So I got to work on that.
Skip,
we got to get our creative panel together.
We need some help here because we're willing to. iCRV Radio is willing to saddle up and jump in. I mean, Lamont's ready to lace up, put on the cleats, man.
Well, I just call him Stretch.
Stretch? That means I'd actually have to stretch.
Yeah. Well, that's a great event, and well, look at it this way. At least we could have been Essex. I mean, we could have been. So at least we finished in the middle.
Well, it's a
great event, by the way.
It really is, and we've had a lot of fun with that. 350 people plus attend it, and it's free again. Hot dogs, hamburgers, and not the hot dogs and hamburgers aren't free, but there's no admission and just smiles. We put fake mustaches on kids and anyone else that wants to have
fun.
It's fun.
That's great. Hey, this was a great idea, your appraisal event, and so glad that a couple of instances there were some aha moments, but it sounds like there was a lot to be learned, a lot to be shared. There's a great sense of community and a whole lot of fun. So thanks so much for doing that. Well, we got more stuff to cover. We're going to tend to a little business, but hey, Skip, thanks so much for being part of iCRV Radio.
I appreciate it very much. Nice being here.
Take care.
There are 2 things we want to be known for at Sure Discount Liquors in Deep River. Of course, we want to be known for great variety, expertise, service, and value. Getting you the right craft beer, wine, or spirit is our mission. But we also want to be known for supporting community, as we have proudly done since we started in business over 27 years ago. Hi, I'm Ken Alsbach. When I started Sure Discount Liquors, it was important for us to achieve both of these goals. This is what we pride ourselves on. Yes, having low prices with distinctive selections on everything from single malts to bourbons to vodkas, craft beers, and a great wine selection. But we also do community fund drives, support Rotary Club events, special tastings, and community showcases at a variety of venues in this area. This means everything to us. Let us share our spirit as you shop for your spirits. Sure Discount Liquors, 211 Main Street, Deep River. That is 211 Main Street, Deep River. And speaking of community events, be sure to join us at our Holiday Wine and Liquor Show at the store on December 10th to benefit the Deep River Community Fund. Thanks.
Do you ever want to provide your family or friends a home-cooked meal without your having to do the cooking? Ever want the care and craft Mom used to serve up without having to do the work? We know. And that is why we are proudly in our 3rd year of offering the best in home-cooked flavors at Doe on Main in Deep River. Hi, I'm Joan Fox, partner at Doe on Main. Whether it is for in-store eating or takeout for home, Doe on Main prides itself on a level of quality you would only normally associate with fine dining destinations or 5-star hotels, which is only fitting, as Executive Chef Francis Brooks Smith has over 20 years' experience in both. It all starts with our focus on making things from scratch, from cracking the eggs to making our own soup stock. We layer in the flavors using only the freshest ingredients available and local when possible. The result is a wide array of offerings: soups, salads, sandwiches, main courses and side dishes, appetizers, pasta, sauces, pastries, and desserts. Options include vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free choices. And I repeat, pasta. On premise, we make on average 5 different flavors of pasta to cut to order as spaghetti, linguine, or fettuccine, as well as special order pappardelle and lasagna sheets. We also make cavatelli and an array of ravioli, ranging from cheese and meat to the more luxurious crab, ginger scallion, and lobster. Come sample the finest. Share our love for great food. Whether it is a romantic dinner for two, or a family meal for six, or even a catered event, Dough on Main allows you to get the best out of our kitchen and onto your table. Dough on Main, 159 Main Street, Deep River, and doughonmain.com.
Yeah, and we want to thank all of our merchant partners for helping us out here at iCRV Radio. And it's great to, have our good friends at Dough on Main. And we learn a lot from Francis Brooks Smith and all the great peak season recipes that are up and on our website. You go to Farmers Market, and right there, there'll be a drop-down bar for peak season recipes. Click on that. And, there's still some time to do pumpkin soup and do a little squash two ways, and a whole bunch of harvest kind of veggies can be celebrated through his great recipes. Hey, Ib, so we're talking a little bit about making a little twist here, because Gay, not only do you believe in vintage jewelry and things of old, but actually you have a little bit of that appreciation for things old just in the house that your father actually helped renovate, right? He renovated a house, was called the Benjamin Handy House. That's
correct. The last time when we were on air last Tuesday, I talked about a little bit how I sort of came to be interested in vintage and antique jewelry, that my entire life has been steeped in history. And part of the reason that I'm so passionate and knowledgeable and interested in these vintage and antique things in general, not just jewelry, was the fact that I grew up in a house that was over 250 years old, the Benjamin Handy House, built in 1765. And in 1976, I believe, is that the right year, Dad?
What, that we moved in?
Yeah.
75.
Oh, 75. Okay. Yeah, 75. We moved to Deep River, and I have here today my dad.
Dick Sherman joins us. Welcome to iCRV Radio, Dick.
Good morning.
It's good to have you, buddy.
I'm ready.
I think I also told Ibby after the broadcast last week that one of the reasons that I like to tell stories also is the fact that my dad is kind of a natural storyteller. So that's another thing. But my dad, we moved into this house in 1975 in Deep River, and it was kind of a mess. And over the course of a long time, restored it. So I'm going to let my dad talk now because he's the expert.
So Dick, you restored the house?
Well, partially. I've always handy with tools and interested in building things, and so I did a lot of things that I could do. Some things, I had a friend, in fact, he lived here in Chester. Unfortunately, he's now deceased, and he was a fellow pilot. His name was Art Miller, and Art was a character, but he was an excellent. He had a construction company at one time, so on a few of the things, he jumped into the project. The house, the background of the house is interesting. 1765, but at that time, the area was Saybrook, which was the original land grant, and it was one of the first houses that was deeded. And I have a copy of the deed, and there's no price on it. There's no who he bought it from. He bought land, basically. And the deed was kind of instructional, in effect. It said that he was, the purpose of being there was to start a smithy, which was blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
And the foundation up in the back of the property still exists, and the kids did some digging because you could see where the hearth was. But prior 1932, the house was a real wreck. The story goes there was an older woman living there, and she apparently was a little bit of a recluse. And there was a small fire in her house, and she apparently died of smoke inhalation. In fact, when I was doing some work in the attic, I could see some of the original beams that were charred. And talking about the heat, the beams, the whole house is chestnut. the siding, and of course it was post and beam. Also, at that time, the houses were in effect primitive colonial, as they called them, and they lent themselves. It was an amazing kind of architectural design because it lent themselves to expansion. And this house, I could see it had been expanded about 20 feet because the original foundation, which is probably a root cellar, ended, and then the addition was put on a foundation that was at ground level. That design led to, going wider, putting a second story. In effect, it evolved into the federal period houses, and if you put a slope roof on the back, it became a salt box. So, interesting background as far as architecture is concerned.
Hey Dick, the deed that you still have a copy of, so that would be deeded from the king?
No, it was. It actually, I believe, came from whoever was running Saybrook at the time.
So there would have been a governor at that point.
Yeah.
There would have been a governor.
Yeah.
Okay.
The copy I've got was produced by the Deep River Historical Society, and so I'm not, it on it is the wording.
Yeah.
No stamps or that kind of thing. As I said, in 32, it was in bad shape.
Yeah.
In fact, by today's standards, if it was in Essex, it'd be on the blight list.
So how long did it take you to bring it back to life?
It was over a period of time. We were living in Virginia Beach at the time, and I was in the coatings business. I was managing the East Coast for a company out of Chicago. Decided Midwesterners don't understand the East Coast, and I decided I didn't want my children to go to school in Virginia Beach, drugs, etc. And I convinced them that I shouldn't live in Virginia Beach, but I should live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And on a business trip, I went into Essex and talked to a real estate guy, and I didn't even know Deep River existed, and as a matter of fact, I bought the house, my wife never seeing it. And when we moved in about 3 months later, I said, "How do you like it?" She said, kind of a quiet voice, "It'll do."
That's funny. Hey, so what, as you're learning more and more about the house, as you're renovating and kind of finding things underneath things, et cetera, were there any great finds, kind of, in similar keeping with what our topic was with Gay, as great finds that you uncovered?
Well, we did dig up some things, in where the forge was. We found nails and a few other things, a couple of hinges. The attic, the house was built in kind of stages. It was extended right and left. And in the back, there was 3 buildings that were put on, one roof lower than the other. So architecturally, there was a lot of symmetry to it. It looked pretty good. The first extension was dining room and kitchen. And then the last one, which I believe was done by people who bought it in 32. Incidentally, their name was Ross, and he was the treasurer of the Pratt Marine Company. And so I have a picture where on one hand it's a trash can, and then a beautifully restored colonial home.
And to what extent did you become involved in the renovations, Gay, or observing all of this?
Well, when we mentioned treasures and the blacksmith foundation in the back, I actually had my own little archaeological dig back there as a kid. And I would, I'd mark off my little plots and dig up different things. I found, iron horses and horseshoes and some really cool old bottles, glass bottles of different colors. And I was always digging up pretty cool stuff. But as far as the renovation's concerned, I remember being in a lot of the rooms, burning and steaming off wallpaper and scraping it with a putty knife. Layers and layers and layers of, decades of wallpaper. That's one thing I particularly remember. In our family photographs, we have pictures of my sister, my brother, and I all on various ladders scraping off the wallpaper.
But how cool to get down to more of the original and restoring it to what it was like.
Yeah.
Well, so Benjamin Handy was a blacksmith, and
he was, as I said on the deed, it said he was there for purposes of being the village smithy. On the interior, it had been decorated Victorian style. Big flowered wallpaper, and the dining room had a glass chandelier in it. It was totally out of style as far as the house was concerned. So the first thing was scraping off the wallpaper. When I got that finished, I was going to paint the walls white where they were plastered, and I was sanding away, and these little nibs kept popping up. I couldn't get rid of them, and then I finally figured out that the plaster was the old seashell, ground seashell with horsehair.
Yeah. So and just so everybody knows, that's the same as the roof over at the Griswold Inn, and then the bar and the tavern that actually used to be a schoolhouse and was moved. I believe is circa 1730, and was it predates the actual inn. It was moved, and that's what it was made out of. It's horsehair and seashells.
So I couldn't get rid of these little nibs, which were horsehairs.
Yeah.
The horse appeared to be white, by the way, by the color. Anyway, I had a local plasterer just put a glaze over the walls, basically to seal the horsehair, and then I painted painted the walls white. In the attic, there were some huge original planks that were made out of chestnut, and I decided them to better use and took them up. As I took them up, I found right up to the top of the beams, the whole attic was full of acorns. Apparently the squirrels over the years and I must have taken out half a truckload of acorns.
Yes,
you certainly have had your work cut out for you in the restoration, and what a wonderful project.
Yeah, I mean that you really have to love doing it. I mean it's a tough process, isn't it?
Well, there was some love in it, and there was some reality in it. When you're young, if you're lucky enough to have some skill in that area, it keeps the price down.
Yeah.
There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into that house, I can say, through the years.
But without question, it probably, it had a lot to do with your love for things that are, old.
Yeah, the entire family, I think, felt that way about the house. When I was scraping off the wallpaper, for example, it was really interesting to see the various styles, because it was like if the walls could talk.
Yeah.
Every layer showed, a different decade or a different century of style. Going back to Victorian era, for example, you could, as we peeled away the layers, it was a history lesson in itself.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Hey, so fun to actually kind of come full circle where we're talking about vintage jewelry and your love for it, your expertise in this great event that the Chester Historical Society put on, and in a couple instances some aha moments. But then we get to take it back to some of your roots and the love that Dick had for bringing things to life. And in this instance, one of the older homes in all of Deep River, isn't it?
Yeah. It's second or third oldest home in Deep River, Dad.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. It was certainly one of the earlier homes.
Yeah, I know the one on the other end of Union Street, I think it's still red, the house that's on the corner of Village Street.
Yeah, it's a duplicate.
Yeah, that one's a little bit older than the house that we had. In 1976, a year after we moved in, we actually were on the the bicentennial 1776 to 1976 house tour that the Deep River Historical Society did that, didn't they?
Yes, they did that.
Yeah, we were one of the houses on the tour, along with some other older houses on Elm Street. I believe the older house on the corner of Union and Village was on that tour. But that was the first time that, my dad showed off all the work he had done.
Hey, we've got just about 60 seconds here as with Veterans Day tomorrow and with the holidays coming up. Anything on y'all's minds? Anything going on? Anything you're looking forward to?
Oh, Veterans Day? Well, tomorrow at Essex Elementary School, they have the Veterans Walk. My son made a card for one of the veterans, and I plan on going over there tomorrow.
That's great. Fantastic.
On my end, it's just being alive tomorrow.
Yeah, man. We salute that. We salute that. Dick, you're a piece of work, man. It's great to get to know you, and we love your family and all that you guys represent. And Gay, it's always fun hanging out with you, and we look forward to future visits. Let's bring this program to life. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having us.
Absolutely. Hey, Dick, thanks for being part of iCRV Radio.
Thank you. It's very enjoyable.
You're listening to iCRV Radio, the stream feeding the River Valley.
We love how iCRV Radio stands for Exploration and Discovery, and want to let you know a bit more about one of your stone's throw destinations we want you to experience yourself. Hi, I'm Laura Baker, innkeeper at Gloucester's Castle Manor Inn. We share your love of textured history and a rich storied past, which you celebrate all the time on iCRV Radio. We do too, and you will love it here in Gloucester, Mass. From visiting the many inspirations and backdrops for the famous movie, The Perfect Storm, to our historic whaling routes, whale-watching cruises, incredible waterfront and their beaches, Rocky Neck artists, and so much more. You will love exhaling with us. We are not a commercialized destination. And when you visit, stay in our Castle Manor Inn. This 1900s inn is perfect for romantic getaways or family events and reunions. Great music venues, bars, and restaurants are so close, but you have to sample our restaurant, and Chef Nick Peters from the TV show Hell's Kitchen is cooking up a little heaven at the Sea Glass restaurant. Less than a half a tank of gas away, this is a stone's throw destination waiting for you. Come sample a taste of our history and do it in style at the Castle Manor Inn. Call us at 978-515-7386. That is 978-515-7386. Or visit castlemanorin.com. That is castlemanorin.com. Come, relax, and let us spoil you too.
So we've got some events coming up for you to enjoy in the area, starting with tomorrow in New London. If you're interested in an open mic night, head to the Common Ground at 7 p.m. Or maybe you want to enjoy some music in Old Lyme. You've got the Bee and Thistle Listening Room. James Maple's going to be playing tomorrow there at 7 p.m. In Cromwell on your Thursday, it is open mic night at the Red Zone Tavern from 7 to 10 p.m. And on Friday at Old Lyme, in Old Lyme at Nightingale's Acoustic Cafe, Vince Tuckwood will be playing on your Friday from 7 to 9. Friday also in Chester, it's the Chester Meeting House Players. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf will be on stage on Friday and Saturday. Also on Saturday, it is Jams for Cans. This is in Deep River. It's a night of music to benefit the Deep River Food Pantry from 5:30 to 10. Bring 5 or more non-perishable food items to the Deep River Ambulance Association and enjoy the music of Dizzy River Band and Sweet Thunder and others. Saturday in Deep River, there is also a fundraiser for the Deep River Historical Society. It's called Bourbon and Bubbles, and that will be from 5 to 7 at the Carriage House on South Main Street. Also, for music on your Saturday in Old Lyme, Nightingale's Acoustic Cafe, Joe Holt will be playing. He's an original singer-songwriter and guitarist. Sunday, November the 15th in Middletown, you've got Movember, the 5K at the Mattabasset Canoe Club, starting at 8:30 in the morning to support men's health. The run is from Portland to Middletown over the famous Aragoni Mustache Bridge. Sunday, November the 15th in Old Lyme, High Hopes has an annual holiday market from noon to 4. And on Sunday the 15th in Centerbrook Trinity Lutheran Church at 2:30, a fundraising event there for affordable housing in the area. Ruby Fruit and a cappella groups, among others, will be performing. The next week, a bunch of other items. We have some music in Middletown on Saturday, November 21st at the Wesleyan Center for the Arts, Brooklyn Ryder String Quartet, and also Saturday and Sunday, the 21st and 22nd, the Shoreline Arts Trail Open Studio Weekend. And there's more music that next week, including in Old Lyme, the Julios at Sheffield Auditorium. Gracie Day is going to be opening. And on December the 2nd, the Rivers are playing at Outer Space. The Outer Space is in Hamden, and Frank Rotelli is going to be going to that as well to enjoy it, and we're going to check that out too. Those are just some of the events that are coming up for the weeks ahead as we head into the holiday season. If you have some suggestions for us, send them to icrvradio.com, and you can also check out our website as well at www.icrvradio.com. So we hope you enjoy the Lower Connecticut River Valley along the coast and the Connecticut River.
And whatever you got,